Imagine this. You have worked your entire adult life for one thing, a home of your own. You saved every spare dollar, survived a bidding war that felt more like a street fight, and finally, got the keys in your hand. The relief is overwhelming. The dream is real. Then the bills start arriving. Not just the mortgage, the other ones. The ones nobody warned you about. Property taxes that climb higher every single year. Insurance premiums that double overnight. Hidden costs that quietly drain your savings like a slow leak in a pipe. Steady, invisible, and devastating by the time you notice it. This is not a story about people making bad decisions. These are regular, hardworking Americans, teachers, nurses, retirees, small business owners, who did everything right. They just happened to buy a home in the wrong state at the wrong time. We're going to drive through 10 states where this is happening right now. Not hypothetically, not someday, right now. We will look at the property taxes, the insurance nightmares, and the hidden financial traps that are turning the American dream into a money pit. Even in quiet Midwestern towns and mountain communities that seem perfectly safe on the outside. If you're thinking about buying a home, already own one, or just want to understand why so many people are packing up and moving, stay with me. This journey might save you tens of thousands of dollars. Let's get moving. Number 10, Nebraska. You crack the windows open and a gentle breeze rolls in, carrying the familiar scent of rich soil and cornfields stretching for miles. Welcome to Nebraska, wide open, quietly beautiful, and seemingly untouched by the kind of chaos that haunts coastal cities. The homes look solid. The yards are well kept. Life here appears calm, affordable, and completely manageable. That impression lasts right up until your property tax bill arrives in the mail. According to a 2025 report from Wallet Hub, Nebraska ranks among the top 10 states in the nation for the highest effective property tax rates. We're talking about rates that could be nearly twice as high as what you would find in states like Utah or West Virginia, on a fairly average $300,000 home that can translate to paying more than $5,000 every single year, roughly an extra $400 every month just to stay in a house you already own outright. Why so high? Because Nebraska leans heavily on property taxes to fund its public schools. And those costs have been climbing steadily for years with very little relief in sight. Then there is the insurance situation, which has quietly gotten worse. Living in the heart of Tornado Alley used to feel like a reasonable trade-off. But after a series of intense hailstorms and tornado outbreaks, insurance data shows premiums rising sharply. Some Nebraska homeowners have seen their annual insurance bills jump 20 to 30% in just the past year alone. There is no dramatic headline crisis here. No mass departures making the evening news. Just a slow, relentless financial squeeze tightening its grip on families who moved here believing they had finally escaped the madness of high-cost living. If you're living somewhere in the Midwest and noticing the same kind of slow drain from rising taxes and insurance costs, you are not imagining it. Drop your state and what you are paying in the comments. It would be interesting to compare. Number 9, Oregon. Head west, and the scenery transforms completely. The flat open plains give way to dense forests so thick they seem to swallow the afternoon light. The air carries that clean, sharp scent of pine mixed with damp earth. Everything about it looks like a photograph you would hang on a wall. Oregon has spent decades marketing itself as a progressive, nature-filled escape. The kind of place where you trade concrete skylines for trails, creeks, and quiet mornings with a cup of coffee on your porch. You find a small house nestled deep in the trees and think, this is it. This is the life I wanted. Then you try to get it insured. That is where the dream starts to crack. According to reports from the Oregon Division of Financial Regulation, the state is dealing with a quietly growing insurance crisis. After years of destructive wildfires, insurance companies have become increasingly cautious about what they will cover. Their risk assessment models now frequently flag homes in forested areas as too dangerous to insure. In communities near Ashland and along the Cascade foothills, thousands of homeowners have watched their premiums double or triple. Others have simply received non-renewal notices in the mail, meaning their coverage is canceled with no backup plan and no alternatives lined up. And even if your particular home never faces a wildfire, there is another cost you cannot escape: Oregon state income tax, which reaches as high as 9.9%. For every $100,000 you earn, nearly $10,000 goes straight to the state before federal taxes even enter the picture. In many parts of Oregon, you are paying a tax rate comparable to California, without earning a California-level income. Think of it as the paradise tax. The price of living somewhere this beautiful is being squeezed from two directions at once: the real threat of wildfire that could take everything you own, and the steady financial pressure already eating away at your savings month by month. Number 8, Illinois. Cross into Illinois and the landscape settles into that familiar Midwestern pattern: flat land, small towns, and sturdy brick homes that give off a sense of permanence and stability. This is classic heartland America. Front porches, good neighbors, the kind of place where you expect to plant roots and stay for decades. But for a growing number of people, Illinois has become the state they cannot leave fast enough. When it comes to property taxes, Illinois occupies a category all its own. The Tax Foundation's 2025 report consistently ranks it among the top 2 highest tax states in the country, right alongside New Jersey. The average effective property tax rate sits at a steep 2.3%. That same $300,000 home that was already expensive to own in Nebraska costs even more here, with annual property taxes climbing past $7,000. In certain suburbs surrounding Chicago, it is not unusual for homeowners to face yearly bills of $10,000, $15,000, or even $20,000 for an ordinary family house. At that point, it stops feeling like a tax. It starts feeling like a second mortgage, one that never gets paid off. People have noticed, based on recent U.S. Census data and research from major moving companies, Illinois consistently ranks among the highest states for outbound migration. More residents are leaving each year than are arriving. The dynamic has become a vicious cycle. The state's deep financial obligations force tax rates higher, which drives more people out, which shrinks the tax base, which pushes rates even higher for those who remain. Buying a home in Illinois does not just mean buying a property. In a very real sense, you are also absorbing a piece of the state's long-term financial burdens. The listing price might look reasonable at first glance. The full cost of staying there tells a very different story. Number 7, New Jersey. Merge onto the turnpike, and almost immediately everything feels compressed and fast-paced. The lanes tighten, the houses sit closer together, and you can feel the gravitational pull of 2 massive cities pressing in from either side: New York to the north, Philadelphia to the south. This is the ultimate location play. You are within reach of major career opportunities, world-class entertainment, and miles of coastline. You come across a charming colonial-style home in a town known for its excellent schools and think, I have finally made it. In a way, you have, straight to the top of a very unwanted list. Year after year, data from the Tax Foundation confirms that New Jersey homeowners pay more in property taxes than anyone else in the entire United States. According to their 2025 figures, the average annual property tax bill is approaching $10,000. And that is not for a luxury estate. That is what an average homeowner pays. On a $400,000 property, you could easily be paying over $800 every single month in property taxes alone. The equivalent of a car payment or a student loan, except this one never goes away and only grows over time. Of course, you tell yourself it is worth it for the schools, the access, the coastline. But here is the part that changes the calculation. That coastline is getting closer every year. A recent analysis by Climate Central points out that large portions of the Jersey Shore now face frequent flooding risks due to rising sea levels and increasingly powerful storms. Areas that flooded once a decade are now dealing with water in the streets multiple times a year. Flood insurance, when you can find it all, has become extremely expensive. Federal Emergency Management Agency policy changes have pushed premiums sharply higher in several coastal counties. So now you're paying the highest property taxes in the country just to own a home that could be underwater after a single bad storm. At what point does the math stop making sense? Number 6, Arizona. Head southwest, and the scenery shifts like someone flipped a switch. The Midwest greens vanish, replaced by a sweeping cinematic view of red rock formations, towering saguaro cacti, and a sky so deeply blue it almost looks painted. Rolling into Phoenix, you see rows of clean stucco homes paired with tidy gravel yards and sparkling backyard pools. Everything looks polished, modern, and surprisingly affordable. It is easy to understand the appeal. This looks like a permanent vacation at a fraction of what you would pay in California. But then you turn on the faucet, and a different kind of question starts forming in the back of your mind. How long can any of this actually last? There's one issue that Arizonans tend to discuss quietly and carefully: water. The entire state depends on an enormous engineering system that redirects water from the Colorado River to make desert living possible. But according to projections from the U.S. Bureau of Reclamation for 2025, that critical water source has been pushed to dangerous historic lows following more than 2 decades of prolonged drought. This is not a distant future problem. It is already playing out. In some of the fastest-growing communities, officials have paused new housing developments because builders cannot guarantee a 100-year water supply, the legal minimum required before construction can proceed. Think about that seriously for a moment. You might not even be allowed to build a house because nobody can promise the water will still be there for your children or grandchildren. Then there is the heat. Data from the National Weather Service shows cities like Phoenix routinely breaking records, with dozens of days each summer exceeding 110 degrees Fahrenheit. Running air conditioning continuously for months is not optional. It is survival. For many households, summer electricity bills regularly climb into the $400 to $500 range. That is a sunshine tax you pay every single month just to stay cool enough to function inside your own home. The question every buyer needs to honestly ask themselves: does it make financial sense to invest in a place where the 2 most basic necessities, water and a livable temperature, are becoming increasingly uncertain? Number 5, Colorado. Leave the desert heat behind and begin climbing into thinner, cooler air. The horizon opens into the dramatic, jagged ridgelines of the Rocky Mountains. You pass through places like Boulder and Golden, where foothills frame a lifestyle built around hiking trails, ski runs, and a community that genuinely values the outdoors. This is the Colorado promise, a life where nature is not just nearby, but woven into everything you do. You find a home with a jaw-dropping mountain view and tell yourself the premium price is completely worth it. You have secured a slice of paradise. Then the real costs arrive, and they come in fast. The first shock typically comes from your insurance provider. After events like the Marshall Fire, which destroyed more than 1,000 homes in just a few hours, insurers have become extremely cautious about covering properties in high-risk zones. According to the Colorado Division of Insurance, premiums in scenic mountain and foothill areas have surged dramatically. Homeowners are reporting increases of 50, 100, and in some cases 200%. And in many situations, policies are not just becoming more expensive, they are being canceled outright. Some properties are now considered too risky to cover at any price. Without active insurance, obtaining or maintaining a mortgage becomes nearly impossible. That breathtaking view can quickly become a home you cannot sell and cannot walk away from. The second blow arrives from the tax side. Following changes to a long-standing property tax limitation, reassessments across Colorado have hit homeowners hard. Reporting from the Colorado Sun showed that in 2025, many counties saw assessed property values jump by 30 to 50%, in some cases, almost overnight. Your property tax bill climbs right alongside that number, even though your actual income has not changed at all. You're already paying extra for the view, then more for the wildfire risk tied to that location. And now even more because that same risky property is considered more valuable on paper. The costs stack up fast. Number 4, Texas. The moment you cross into Texas, everything expands. The sky stretches wider, the highways grow broader, and there is an unmistakable sense of ambition and energy in the air. Driving through suburbs around Dallas or Houston, you see what looks like endless new construction, gated communities, large brick homes, newly built schools appearing one after another. This is the Texas formula: Minimal regulation, rapid growth, and the promise of getting far more house for your money. At first, it genuinely does seem like a great deal. A spacious four-bedroom home here might cost what a small apartment would in Denver. And there's no state income tax, which makes it feel like you have discovered some kind of financial shortcut that everyone else somehow missed. Then the costs start rolling in. The first wake-up call usually comes in the form of your property tax bill. Because Texas collects no state income tax, it funds its government, including its highly rated school systems, almost entirely through property taxes. And those taxes are steep. The Tax Foundation consistently ranks Texas among the top 5 states for highest property tax rates. In many areas, the effective rate is nearly double the national average. That $400,000 dream home can arrive with an annual tax bill of $8,000, $9,000, or even $10,000. And unlike a mortgage that eventually gets paid off, that bill keeps rising year after year. Then there is the weather and the infrastructure that struggles to keep up with it. After the catastrophic power grid failure during the winter of 2021, many Texans got a very clear look at how fragile the state's independent electrical system can be. The grid, managed by ERCOT, frequently operates at its limits during summer months when temperatures stay in triple digits for weeks at a stretch. Residents are sometimes asked to reduce electricity used voluntarily just to prevent widespread outages. Along the Gulf Coast, insurance has become a serious and growing problem. Each major hurricane pushes premiums higher. Deductibles are often calculated as a percentage of the home's total value, which can leave homeowners covering tens of thousands of dollars out of pocket before insurance covers a single dollar. So here is the honest question worth asking. Is the no state income tax advantage actually as valuable as it sounds, or has it become one of the most effective financial trade-offs ever sold to homebuyers? Number 3, Louisiana. Cross east from Texas, and the atmosphere shifts immediately. The air turns thick and humid, heavy with history. Flat plains dissolve into bayous and wetlands, and the culture lands all at once. Music drifting from open doorways, food smells that stop you in your tracks, architecture unlike anywhere else in the country. You drive through a small town and spot a stunning historic shotgun-style house on the market. The listing price looks like a misprint, $180,000. With the equity from a home sold elsewhere, you could pay cash. You think, this could genuinely be my place. Then you make a quick call to an insurance agent. The dream collapses. Louisiana has what may be the most broken home insurance market in the entire country. After being repeatedly hammered by catastrophic hurricanes, Laura, Delta, Zeta, and Ida, the private insurance industry has largely pulled out of the state. According to the Louisiana Department of Insurance, more than 20 companies have either exited the market completely or gone bankrupt in recent years. The ones still operating charge rates that are shocking. The 2025 market report shows the average annual premium statewide has surpassed $6,000. Along the coast, it can easily exceed $10,000 per year. That means paying more than $800 every month in insurance alone on a home that costs only $180,000. Essentially a second mortgage, just to protect the property. For millions of homeowners, the only available option is Louisiana Citizens, the state-run insurer of last resort. The catch: by law, its rates are set higher than the private market to ensure it does not compete unfairly with private insurers. The math is genuinely punishing. The house may be inexpensive. The cost of owning it has become something else entirely. Number 2, California. Drive north along the Pacific Coast Highway with cliffs dropping sharply into the deep blue ocean below. The sun lingers in that famous golden hour glow that photographers chase all over the world. This is the California dream, the one that launched 1,000 movies, built entire industries, and drew generations of people chasing something bigger than themselves. You find a home perched on a hillside overlooking canyons or the Pacific coast and feel like you have arrived. Then reality hits. The home is uninsurable. This is not a future concern or a slow-moving risk. It is happening right now. Major national insurers, including State Farm and Allstate, have publicly announced they are either halting or severely restricting new homeowner policies across large portions of California. Data from the California Department of Insurance for 2025 shows that hundreds of thousands of non-renewal notices have been sent out in just the past 2 years, leaving homeowners with nowhere to turn. The reason is straightforward. Wildfire risk has made insuring entire communities financially impossible for private companies. When a catastrophic fire can destroy thousands of homes in a single night, the math simply does not work. Your remaining option is the California Fair Plan, the state-mandated insurer of last resort. It offers a bare-bones policy that frequently costs 2 to 3 times more than standard insurance, while covering only a fraction of what a normal policy would. In many cases, it does not cover liability or damage from the atmospheric rivers that now regularly flood California communities. So you end up paying an enormous amount for basic fire protection and then purchasing additional separate policies for almost everything else. All of this on a home that, according to the California Association of Realtors, averages more than $800,000. You're not just buying a house. You are buying into a zip code that the financial system has quietly labeled high risk. When $1 million property becomes impossible to protect at a reasonable cost, the question worth asking is it still an asset at all? Number 1, Florida. And here we are, the end of the road. Florida is not just the top entry on this list. It is the most concentrated example of what happens when every financial hazard discussed on this journey, skyrocketing insurance costs, climate threats, and market collapse, collide in the same place at the same time. According to the Insurance Information Institute, the average Florida homeowner paid more than $6,000 per year for home insurance in 2025. That is $500 every single month. And that amount does not include your mortgage. It does not include your property taxes. That is purely the fee you pay to an insurance company that, increasingly, is looking for ways to exit the state entirely. Dozens of private insurers have already left Florida, forcing millions of residents into Citizens Property Insurance Corporation, the state-run insurer originally designed as a temporary safety net for people who could not get coverage anywhere else. It was never built to carry this load. If a major hurricane hits and exhausts its financial reserves, every single taxpayer in Florida could face a special hurricane assessment, essentially a forced contribution to bail out the system. That means you are paying the highest insurance premiums in the country for the privilege of being first in line for a potential statewide financial crisis. The property itself stops behaving like an investment. It becomes a liability, beautiful, sun-soaked, and financially dangerous in ways that are not obvious until it is too late. The listed price of any home is often just the beginning of what you will actually spend. We have driven through states being crushed by property taxes, states where insurance has simply stopped working, and states where the climate itself is reshaping what it costs to live there. The real lesson is not just about natural disasters. It is about reading the fine print on your tax bills and insurance policies, because that is where the most expensive surprises are hiding. If there is a state you feel deserves a place on this list, or if your own experience as a homeowner confirms anything covered here, share in the comments. The more people understand what is actually happening in these housing markets, the better prepared they will be before signing on the dotted line.